Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook, but it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
All right, my friends, how are you today? Hopefully you're having a great week. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am your host, Robert A. Lane. I'm an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in mainly helping nonfiction authors, though I do help fiction authors once in a while. I'm going to talk a little bit about that during the podcast, but I help you as an author, as you publish your book, this great book that you've written and you publish and you have it out there in the world. The next step is to turn it into an audiobook. That's the next great step to take as an author, as an entrepreneur, and that's what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. Love doing it, love helping authors narrate their own book, because that's the most important aspect of it, of course, is narrating your own audiobook, because nobody on this planet can tell your story better than you. You wrote it, you lived it, you breathed it, you put your blood, sweat, and tears and money and investments and everything into creating an awesome book, and you are the one who needs to narrate it, because again, it's your story. No one who has experienced what you experienced are going to be able to tell your story the way that you have. So that's what I do. I love doing it. And we have a great topic for you today about your audiobook can change the world. It really can. But before we dive into that, I do want to share with you one freebie that I have that I love sharing with everybody who tunes in. And you can even go to my website and grab a copy of it as well. And it is the Audiobook Narration Reference Guide I've put together to help you with some tools and techniques on how to do a great narration, how to do a better delivery, how to bring your authenticity and your unique personality and style to life when you narrate your audiobook. And of course, the practical aspects are in this guide as well, about mic placement, about good posture, because that is important. Whether you are sitting or standing when you do your audiobook, when you narrate your audiobook, and just other tools and techniques that are in that guide. So by all means, do me a favor, grab it. It's for free. I love giving that away. So again, there's a graphic on the screen that you can see with a link, and the bit.ly link, it's bit.ly/narration reference guide. All right, bit.ly/narration reference guide. Grab your free guide. And again, you could always go to robertlanecoaching.com to grab your guide as well. By the way, I love doing this. We are streaming live on the Bold Brief TV network, and it's live. So if you have any comments about the audiobook world or about anything that we're talking about on today's show, by all means, feel free to comment. And if I can answer your question, I absolutely will. So your audiobook can change the world. It really can. Now, when you wrote your book, all right, again, I deal with mostly nonfiction authors because it's a narrative. As a nonfiction author, you're telling your narrative. A lot of the books that I've worked on, the authors have gone through my audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice as well. And you can find it on robertlanecoaching.com. Okay, there's your quick sell. All right, so, but most of the authors are writing memoirs, or they're telling a personal story. I've also worked with plenty of authors who have coaching programs. And so, again, that's just another reason why it's important for you to narrate your own audiobook. It's your program. Why would you have somebody else narrate that? But you wrote your book, and you were compelled to write this story, to share this experience, to teach this coaching program, to maybe write a children's book, or maybe you're a poet and you've written a great poetry book. Should be in your own voice. But you are compelled to do this. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. So you did all the work, whether you self-published, I would say, huge percent, probably 95 to 98% of the authors that I've worked with have self-published. And that's a great thing, because when you do it right, your self-published book next to a traditional publisher's book if you've done your work and you've had a great team of people helping you create a great book, you put those two books side by side, you can't even tell who's traditional publisher and who's self-published. And that's a great thing. And I love the self-publishing aspect of it. One of the main reasons, of course, is that you are in full control of your product, your book. When you sign with a traditional publisher, you give up a lot. You give up a lot of rights. You give up money. You give up, you may even be forced to give up the opportunity to narrate your own audiobook. And I've come across this quite a few times with authors who really wanted to narrate their audiobook. I wanted to help them. They wanted me to help them. And their publisher wouldn't let them do it. And that's not cool, I don't think, for traditional publishers to do that. It should be the author's choice to be able to narrate their own book if they choose to do so. But self-publishing is great because you have more control over your product. And again, you are an entrepreneur. You are the CEO of you. I love throwing that catchphrase out there because you really are. And the next smart and really a great step to up-level your book is having you narrate it yourself as the author and having it published. And so, again, writing your book is the first step. Now, you were compelled. You had this idea, this story, this coaching program, whatever it is that you do. You wanted to get the word out, and you were compelled enough to write your book and get it published. There is a core reason, obviously, a core reason why you were so driven to do this. What was it that lit that fire inside you to write this book? Always be tapped into your core. Always be tapped into your core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place. Why it is so important for you to have that book published and put it out there in the world. Because really being tapped into that core reason why, what was the purpose? You bring that to the table when it comes to narrating your audiobook. You gotta bring it because that is part of the secret sauce that creates a great audiobook. Being tapped into that core reason of why you wrote your book, being passionate about it, because that's key. So always be tapped into your core reason. Always know why you wrote your book in the first place. And I guarantee you, I've yet to meet an author who said, I wrote my book to make tons of money. I don't care about my content. I just want to make money. Well, there's other ways of doing that is to make money as well. But I don't know any author that I've worked with, at least, where that was their core reason. Their core reason was that they had something that was purposeful that they wanted to share. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. For example, when I wrote my book as a published author as well, I've gone through the whole experience of publishing my book, and I did self-publish. And one of the smartest things that I did as a business person, as an entrepreneur for my coaching business, is hire a book coach. I hired a book coach to show me the right way, the tools that I needed, and a formula and a method to be able to write a great book efficiently, not take 10 years to write my book. And we did it really fast, actually, and it turned out great. And the biggest piece of advice that I want to share with you in regards to that is if you need help, all right, with anything, if you're writing your book and you need help with the content, you need help with storytelling, there are book coaches that can help you with that. If you need help with formatting your book and of course having an editor, you should have a professional editor go through your book and help you make sure that everything is exactly the way it should be, and doing your cover design. So you put together a great team of people that help you. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because when you try to do it yourself and only yourself, that can be very overwhelming. It can be very frustrating. And honestly, when you hire people who can do things better than you can, which is the whole reason why I hired a book coach to help me write my book, I wanted to have guidance. I wanted to make sure that my end product was going to be the best that it can possibly be. And that's what you want to do, because as an author, you are a brand. Of course, you are an author brand. You are an entrepreneur. You really are. It doesn't matter if you are a professional writer or if you wrote your book in nights and weekends. Doesn't matter. You still are a professional because you published your book. So you are an author brand, and these are your products, and you really have to put out the best of the best. So getting help is great. Getting help is great. So that's what I did. I released my book. When did this come out? October of 2022 is when I released my book. I may write another one. I don't know. We'll see. And I took personal experiences and also tied in what I do as a career coach and life coach. In addition, of course, doing audiobook coaching. But I started off as a career coach and life coach and shared stories of my career of working in the entertainment industry for over 30 years. And also being an audio guy as well, and shared some of those behind the scenes stories. But with each story is a tool or technique or a coaching lesson that I wanted to share so that anybody who reads this book can be entertained with the stories, but can also get something of more value. So that was my core reason. And I share this with you because I just wanted to hit home how important it is to always be tapped into your core reason. Because when you actually do your audiobook narration, what brings out that passion? Being tapped into your core. Absolutely. And that helps with using your audiobook to change the world. And one example that I want to share with you is an author that I've worked with. I actually even had her as a guest on this podcast, who wrote a book about her cancer journey. And she took her audiobook, and she is changing the world. She really is. Because she's taken her book, she's taken her audiobook, and she uses it as a calling card to do speaking engagements at hospitals, at cancer treatment centers. She even developed programs to help doctors with cancer patients. And also, I believe part of her program is also helping the patients themselves. And she also is utilizing other aspects of her career as a interior designer. And she's also a clothing designer as well, and really understands the importance of keeping things pure in regards to lighting and furniture, and especially clothes, because things that are made with a lot of chemicals, they do get into your body, and she talks about that and shares about that. So it's a great thing. So she's really tapped into her core. And I love that because she's sharing her core reason of why she wrote her book and why she did her audiobook, and now it is changing the world. She is changing the world, especially for cancer patients. The book she wrote is called Purgatory to Paradise, by the way, if you want to check it out. It's up on Amazon, of course. The author is Mawish Syed. Purgatory to Paradise is her book. Matter of fact, I'm working on a book right now, which will be released later this year, both in hardcover, paperback, ebook, and audiobook. And her book is, she shares some of her cancer journey as well. The author is Elisa Quinn. We'll have her on the show once we get her audiobook out there, because I want her to be able to promote her book in her audiobook. But again, really being tapped into her core reason of her topic, which is about impact circles. That's what she calls it, as a core group of people that are really a support system. And I like the way she approaches it. So again, being tapped into your core reason is it always has to be there. Always has to be there when you're doing book signings, when you're going out doing speaking engagements. It's got to be there. And especially when you do your audiobook. And your audiobook can change the world. Mawish is changing the world with sharing her cancer journey. Whatever story that you have written and you being tied into that core reason, that's it, man. That is it. That's what's going to change the world, because you have something important to share and you have a story to tell. We're going to take a quick break. I want to talk a little bit more about this. I mentioned earlier about fiction authors, and I do want to touch on that for a little bit as well. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Yes, podcast. Everything is labeled Your Book, Your Voice. My coaching program for audiobooks, helping authors with their audiobooks. I have a coffee chat, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. And I do all these things, but I try to keep it simple. Sometimes I confuse myself, but that's just me. All right. Thank you. Don't go away. We're going to take a quick break. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. More coming your way.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Got to get it right. This is Robert A. Lane. Thank you so much for joining. Our topic today is your audiobook can change the world. It really can. And again, if you were even thinking about turning your book into an audiobook, or if you want to find out more about the process of how to do it, I'll talk about the process a little bit later in the show. But by all means, book a call with me. That's the first step. The first thing you need to do is just schedule a call. It's a free call. It's a quick call. We talk about your book, your marketing goals. What do you want to do with your audiobook? What markets do you want to hit? And I'll give you details, of course, about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. Let's have a conversation. You'll talk with me directly, and you will work with me directly. I don't have just a team of people or send you off to somebody somewhere else and you're like, well, that's not the person I wanted to work with. No, you work with me. You work with me directly. So let's have a conversation. There's a graphic on the screen for you to check out if you're seeing the video portion of the podcast. And the link to schedule a call is bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. All right, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. That's AUDIOBOOKONBOARDING. If you wanted to have the spelling. Audiobook onboarding. It's not too hard to figure out. Or again, you can always go to my website at robertlanecoaching.com. Everything is up there as well. All right. So we are talking about how your audiobook can change the world. It really can. Helping others, of course. To change the world as well with what you presented with the content of your book, and especially when you narrate your audiobook. Now, I wanted to mention about fiction books because fiction books are great. And I had an author who I had an email introduction of a good friend of mine who works with a lot of authors, and she goes, "Oh, talk to this person. I think he'd be really interested in doing his audiobook." I'm like, "Cool." So I reach out to them. I say, schedule a call, because of course that is the first step. And I do like talking to you directly because we're going to be working together. So, there's a business relationship there. And I want to make sure that I resonate with you and you resonate with me as we go through the whole audiobook process. But anyway, so he doesn't book a call. He just sends an email and says, "Oh, well, I write, fiction novellas." I guess you only work with nonfiction authors. Well, that's not true. I do work with fiction authors as well. But here's the thing. All right. So obviously with fiction, it may be a fictional story that you're telling, but that doesn't mean that you can't narrate it. It all depends on how you wrote it. Because if you wrote the book in a style that is more of a narrative, then absolutely, you should definitely narrate your fiction book. Doesn't matter if it's fiction or nonfiction. Narrate your own book, all right? Because even if you do have some characters that you can talk about and even do not necessarily voices, but you can still say the conversations that they're having. It works. That's why I know, because this is what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. So if that will work, that will absolutely work. Now, obviously, if you wrote a fiction book that has a ton of different characters with different dialects, maybe even if it's the romantic drama in galaxies far, far away, and that book has a bunch of different characters and a bunch of different dialects, of course, your option would be to hire a great professional voiceover person to help bring your story to life, especially. Now, make sure they're professional, because there's a lot of great voiceover people out there who can do a variety of different voices, and it's definitely worth your money to hire a professional. Okay, so that makes sense. But again, I never said, and I never will say, that I don't do fiction. If there is a way for you as the author to narrate it, even if we need to hire one other voiceover person to offset characters, maybe female character versus male characters, no problem. No problem. But you should be the one to narrate the bulk of it, even if you're taking a narrator role in the story. For example, I worked on a book not too long ago. Well, I guess it was last year. Was it last year? Yeah. Well, it's been a while, but it was a great book. And he had a story basically about a fictional business, and he was a coach. I mean, he was teaching, of course, but he used a fictional business that he created, and he had all different characters, both male and female characters, to represent certain aspects and concepts that he was sharing in his book. So we had 3 voices on that book. He was the narrator. He was the narrative throughout the entire book. And then each person that represented a character, we had one female voiceover person who did all the female characters, and a male voiceover person who did all the male characters. It worked out great. So you're not only limited to just only you. If there's a way to utilize another voice and we can do it and it works out great, then definitely. But, of course, I am a big advocate of all nonfiction authors need to narrate your own audiobook, because it's your story. No one can tell your story better than you. And you don't have to be a professional voiceover person to do it. You can do it. This is why I do the coaching aspect of it, to show you and give you the tools and techniques that you need to just do a great, compelling, and authentic narration. All right, so I just want to share this with you, because I think it all falls into play in regards to how your audiobook can change the world, and it really can. It's one thing to write a book, and that's great. All right, you're writing your book and you're leaving your legacy. All right, you're leaving your legacy in book form. But really, when you take it to the next level, when people can hear you tell your story, that makes all the difference in the world. That is really leaving a fantastic legacy. For people to be able to hear what you have to say, telling your story in your own voice, and people for generations to come are going to be able to hear you tell your voice. Maybe when you're long gone, 100 years from now, guess what? Someone's going to listen and hear your audiobook, and they can hear you, the author, tell it. It's really exciting for me as a musician when I hear composers, even the early composers, when they started to record them, classical composers from the early 20th century, when they started to record, and you can actually hear that composer playing their masterpiece. Man, that's exciting. It's great to, of course, hear other musicians perform those pieces, and they're great, just like another professional voiceover will be technically awesome in regards to telling your story, but there are subtleties and there are nuances about who you are and what you are, everything that makes you as an author and as an author brand. Those subtleties, they're not going to know. And especially if your story is very personal. It's something that you lived and experienced, and no other voiceover person, no other narrator is going to be able to really tap into that as well as you, because you lived it. And this is, again, going back to being tapped into your core reason, the core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place, which is the core reason why you narrate your book. in the first place. Now, I'd done a speaking engagement, and I do that. I do speaking gigs around the country, big corporations, conferences. I do workshops, both live and virtual. But I did one up at Oregon State University. This was for the Oregon Parenting Educators Conference, and it was cool. It was a great gig. My variety of keynote speeches that I talk about, but the one that I used for that conference was called Follow Your Moral Compass, Setting Your Intentions True North. And I was thinking about that before doing the podcast today. And I thought, the goal for this is we do have the power as a collective to change the world. And which was why I thought this is really a good topic to talk about, because you do have the power to change the world with your voice as an audiobook. You can change the world. You really can. And how important it is to really be tapped in to your core reason. And that is in parallel with what I spoke about at that conference about following your moral compass and sticking to your true north path. That's basically being tapped into your core reason of why you do what you do. And that's really, really important. Do what you do. And I love the theme was from passion to purpose. And that fits so in sync with you as an author. You're passionate about what you wrote about, you're passionate about what you've talked about, and you've done it with purpose. And that's part of your core reason. And when you share that in audio form with your own voice, you are changing the world. I did this thing where I say, we can change the world, we can change the mindset. And that's really what it comes down to. When we say changing the world, I look at it as a mindset shift. And if you and all of us as a collective can create this mindset shift, then we can change the world to be a better place to live. We really can. And I talk to them about, if you go out and let's say there's 100 people here and you tell 20 of your friends, if those 100 people tell 20 of their friends, you've just reached 2,000 people, right? And if those 2,000 people tell 20 of their friends, then they have now reached 40,000 people. And if those 40,000 people tell 20 of their friends, you've now reached 800,000 people. And if 800,000 people tell 20 of their friends, you've just reached 16 million people. So it builds, right? It builds. And the whole point of what I was talking about at that conference was, look, all of us as a collective can make a difference in this world. We can make a difference in the world. And the whole point is sharing your knowledge, sharing your story. Sharing, for them, it was sharing your moral compass, what you do, following and trusting your instincts and bringing honesty and respect and trust back into this world, and did this whole thing about that. But what you're doing with your audiobook is that you are sharing your voice, your story, your experience, and people will resonate with you. And maybe part of your marketing strategy should be, again, not just promoting your book and promoting your audiobook, but saying you got to share this. Share this story. Share the concepts that I've presented to you, especially if it's a coaching book or an educational book, but even a memoir. Share my experiences with other people that can benefit from maybe the experience that I've had. Maybe they can relate to that. Maybe they resonate with that. And people will resonate with your book, but it's great to be able to tell them. So share that. Say, here's my audiobook. You want to hear a great story? I want to tell you my incredible story. Get my audiobook. Hear me tell my story in my own voice, and then share it with others. Because that's how you make change. It is a mindset change. And speaking of mindset, one thing that I do want to touch on when it comes to recording your audiobook is you have to be in the right frame of mind. That's why, number one, being tapped into your core reason of why you wrote your book in the first place. You're bringing that energy to the forefront when you are narrating your audiobook. All right, so be tapped into that. Be tapped into that. Be focused, be grounded, be in the now. Very, very important. And that's all part of being in the right frame of mind. And don't have worry, don't have doubt, don't have any of these things, these barriers that we commonly put up. We do that. I do it still. And I have to change my mindset, because it is about mindset. And it is crucial to be in the right frame of mind before you even hit that record button. You got to be in the right frame of mind. And what I coach the authors who go through my audiobook coaching program is, okay, what chapter are you working on? Oh, well, I'm going to be doing chapter 5. Perfect. Well, get back into it, reread it, refamiliarize yourself with this chapter that you're going to be narrating. Tap into those feelings and emotions. Because again, it's those feelings and emotions, those intangibles, those things you don't physically touch, but you emotionally feel that really brings your audiobook to life. And when you tap into those emotions, that's what makes a compelling audiobook. That's what makes it more conversational. And that definitely makes it 100% authentic, 100% authentically you. Very important. And when you do that and you're sharing your story and putting it out there for the world to hear, you are changing the world. You can change the world and you can change the world's mindset. As a collective, we all can do this. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane. I talk audiobooks, but we also talk about mindset as well. We talk about how to crush fear. We talk about loving your voice. These are all important aspects of doing a great audiobook. And these are things and tools and techniques that can help you, not only from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint as well. We're going to dive more into that. We'll talk more about legacy. I mentioned about talking about the audiobook process, so we'll go over that when we come back. We're streaming live on the Bull Brave TV network.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. Yeah, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And this is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Appreciate. I gotta be able to talk here. Appreciate you hanging out. Boy, it's really great. It's really great to have you here. This topic of the podcast today is, of course, your audiobook can change the world. Again, I look at it as a mindset shift. And again, always being tapped into the core reason of why you wrote your book is what you bring to the table when you do your audiobook narration. And I do want to talk about the audiobook process because it can be very overwhelming. It really can. I've had authors who end up going through my program who have told me, I was going to do this myself and wasn't really sure how to do it, but I was just going to dive right in. And then I need to create my publication account to be able to get on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And I started doing that and I was all confused and was just not, so I just didn't do it. Luckily, they came to me and I was able to help them. So it can be very overwhelming, or even the process if you don't understand the fine art of piecing together that audiobook and doing it in sections, because that's how it's done. I'll talk about that in just a sec. That can be overwhelming. So The first step, of course, is that you have your audiobook. It should be published, especially if you want to be on Amazon or Audible, Amazon, and Apple. Make sure your audiobook is published as an ebook, okay? The ebook version, because if you want to be published and distributed on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, that's all under the Amazon umbrella. So the account that you create to be published on those distribution platforms, what happens is that they pull the information from your ebook, your description, and all that information to create the audiobook version of it. And if you don't have an ebook, then they're not able to pull that in. Now, I consider this a flaw in the system for ACX, which is the umbrella system under Amazon. That is where you need to set up your account to get published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And that is something that, unfortunately, they haven't changed, or I consider they need to fix. Because whether your book is ebook or paperback or hardcover, you should be able to get published on those three distribution platforms, no matter what the format is. But they haven't done it yet, and I keep hounding them because I believe that that's not being conducive to helping authors like yourself getting your book published. So just make sure your book is in ebook form. All right. So that's one thing, and that's one aspect that can be very overwhelming. Then when it comes to narrating your own audiobook, okay, first piece of advice, and this is what I do with my clients, is you need to set up your own recording space. It's easier, it's better in regards to working on your book on your schedule. Okay. Yeah, there are great studios all over the country which you can go in and record, but you're on their schedule. And if if you book out, let's say I booked out 3 hours or 4 hours or however many hours that you want to book to work on your audiobook. And what if you're having a bad day? Like, what if it's an off day? Maybe your voice isn't sounding great. Maybe you're making a lot of mistakes and you're just not focused. And your time is up. And you don't get to record everything that you wanted to record. That sucks, right? You're under that time constraint. And when you're under that pressure, that time constraint, makes it tough. Because then you are not doing your best delivery. You're rushing. You have this thing in the back of your head like, oh man, I'm almost out of time. It's not going to be your best delivery. And then that's what you don't want to do. So I have the clients that I work with, the authors who go through my program, I provide them with the equipment that they need, a professional microphone, headphones, everything they need to record their own audiobook in their own recording space. And we talk about that in more detail about how to set up a great space. So when you do record your audiobook, remember it's done in sections, okay? Each piece of your book is a separate audio file. So for example, in my book, I have 14 chapters in this book. So that's 14 audio files right there. Each chapter is a separate audio file. And there's, of course, opening credits, closing credits, dedication page, introduction. Maybe you have a foreword. Maybe you have a prologue or an epilogue or acknowledgments or a dedication page. All these different aspects of your book are going to be individual audio files. And it sounds like a lot. I mean, I've had authors who've had, God, what was the chapter I had? What was the chapter count? I'm trying to remember. I worked on a book. It was like, how many chapters? Because they were small, but there were a lot of them, like 50, 60 chapters in this book. It was crazy. But it may sound overwhelming. But honestly, it does make it easier for recording purposes and for being able to do a great narration, because you don't feel overwhelmed. Again, that word overwhelmed, it comes up a lot. You don't feel overwhelmed in trying to get this book done and having to sit there for, 2, 3, 4 hours straight, because you're going to get fatigued. All right. So when you're doing it in sections, it's great. You can just focus. I'm going to do this chapter. Maybe I'll do 2 chapters. And you do it and you're good. And if you still feel good and you're in your zone, awesome. Keep going. But if you start to get tired, if you start to feel fatigued, if your voice is sounding fatigued, if if your energy is dropping, because that's, again, very important, then take a break And that's the beauty about having your own recording space, because you can do it on your schedule. But here's the thing, you got to be a great accountability person, right? You have to hold yourself accountable to make sure that you are sticking to a schedule, and have a schedule, have a plan, have it all laid out. This is what I'm going to do. This is when I'm going to record, and you stick to it, because then you'll get it done. The audiobook coaching program I teach is 6 weeks. It's 6 weeks. If you're focused and you aren't distracted, and if you don't have any other things that come up, and that happens a lot too with authors that I work with. They have business meetings, they have travel that they need to do. So it may take a little longer than 6 weeks, and that's okay, right? Because I don't want to add another pressure of like, oh, we're coming up to the end of the 6 weeks, and I don't have my book, nearly finished. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Life happens. Understand. Not a problem. Don't let that pressure you. Remember, my job is to help you not feel pressured. So we don't want to have that overwhelm. But, again, it's great to have your own space so that you are accountable for doing your work. Now, the other thing that is really important that I find a lot of authors don't realize is, as you record your audiobook, when you have all these audio files, you have to send them to an editor, an audio editor who knows what they're doing, who is going to listen to everything in real time to make sure that everything is great. All right, there's companies out there who will say, "Oh yeah, we'll do all your audio post production for you," and then they run it through some restoration program, and it'll clean it up. But they're missing out on things that they're not going to catch. They're not going to catch, right? What if you mispronounce a word? What if you slur a word and it just sounds a little awkward? You need to fix that, all right? They're not going to catch that. You need to find an editor who will sit there and listen to your audio files in real time with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that it is pristine. Not only how it sounds, but what if there's a huge gap in from one sentence to another? That's got to be tightened up. Or what if it's too fast, and from one sentence to another? Now, as a coach and producer, I don't alter the way you do your delivery. I don't change your pacing, because that's who you are, right? When you're narrating your own audiobook, you are being your true authentic self, and we want to preserve that. We're preserving that integrity of who you are as an author and your author brand. But if there is a gap that is like really, really long and it's awkward, again, for the listener who's going to be listening to your audiobook, then you need to fix that. And that's part of what I do. So as an audio editor, of course, been doing that for 25 plus years, you get that as part of the program. So you don't have to find another editor. I will do that for you. But you got to find, again, if you're going to find somebody to do it, they need to really listen to it in real time. All right, in real time. And the other thing that I do is after I do all the editing, and I make sure, and this is the other really important thing, is making sure that your audiobook meets the exact specifications for publication. Because I've seen authors who've done audiobooks that recorded in a studio and they upload them to Audible and they got rejected because they didn't meet the specifications. And that's bad, because you put in like tons of hours of work into your audiobook just to get rejected. And then now you have to try to fix it somehow. I had an author who did work with me. He has several books, so one book we did together. But before that, he was telling me this horror story about trying to get his audiobook done. And it took him months, way past when he wanted to have it released, to try to fix those files. Now, luckily, a part of what I do as an audiobook coach and producer is that as a producer, if someone has already recorded their audiobook and they're having issues, I can fix those files, or I'll do my best to fix them, do anything I can to not have you re-record everything, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So, but yeah, so that is one aspect, is that you have to make sure that it meets the exact specifications for publication. That's a big deal. So when I do the final output, and I do listen to it in real time, I do a final quality control pass as I listen before I upload that file for publication into Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And I've caught, even if it's one word that was different than what was written in the book, I will flag that and I will ask the author, was this intentional? Did you mean to change it? Or is it a mistake? Or do you want to re-record this sentence and say what's written in the book? These little subtleties are very, very important because it's your book. It's your story, and it needs to be said the way that you intended it to be heard. So if there's any issues, or even if it's one word, I'll fix that. You just send me that sentence again. I pop it back in, get it remixed, and then you have a great, pristine audio file for that chapter or whatever section that you're working on. So again, very important to be very meticulous when you find an editor to do the job and do it right. All right, this is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We are going to take one more quick break. I want to summarize what I've talked about today. And yeah, your audiobook can change the world. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
And we're back. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane. Your audiobook can change the world. That's our topic. Because again, what you talk about in your book, and again, a lot of the authors that I've worked with write memoirs and nonfiction books. Even if you write a fiction book and it's a great story, it's that content that's so important. And the one thing that I've discovered with almost every author, if not every author that I've worked with, is that you have passion, you have purpose. And what I've found is that you as an author, you are really tapped into that core reason of why you wrote your book, why you do what you do. And I love the mindset of it's not just about you, all right? What you do is to help others at your highest level. That is a great approach, and that is a great mindset. You do what you do. You tell whatever story you're telling. You coach whatever program you coach. You educate people. But you do it at your highest level to help others. And that's where you need to be. And when you do that, when you're tapped into that, you're tapped into your truth. All right? That is the truth you need to be tuned into. Because that's what changes the world. That's what changes the mindset of the world. And again, as I mentioned earlier about sharing your story, sharing your audiobook, sharing what you do as a coach, or even when you write your memoir, that story is very, very important. And the more you let people know, the more we can make this world definitely a better place to live, of course. So again, if you haven't turned your book into an audiobook, maybe you've written a book, it could be 3, 4, 5, maybe even 10 years old, bring it back to life, right? Bring it back to life. Let people know that book exists. You wrote it for a reason and people need to know about it. So turn it into an audiobook. It's a great way to relaunch your book. Put it out there. And if you're writing a book now and you're planning on turning it into an audiobook, as you should do it. Or maybe you just published your book, turn it into an audiobook. And remember, it's your voice that matters. No one can tell your story better than you. No one can express your emotions better than you. And when you think about it, you are an author brand, and when you narrate your own audiobook, that's what allows you to stand out. It allows you to stand out in the crowd. Because there isn't anybody who can teach the way you teach, who can express themselves the way you express themselves. And that's what draws your readers to you, and that's what's going to draw your listeners to you. The one thing that I did want to mention in regards to creating your audiobook and part of the process is consistency. Consistency is super, super important. It is the key. You want to be consistent, both from a practical standpoint and, of course, from the emotional standpoint. So consistency from a practical standpoint, of course, is making sure your mic levels are great, that you are keeping the same distance that sounds pristine, right? That perfect distance from your microphone, that you're consistent. And then from the intangibles side of things, you need to be consistent with your energy. You need to be consistent with your emotion. And just like a movie or just like a story, of course, there are ebbs and flows of that story. There are arcs, there are ups and downs, and you are expressing that in your emotion. And when you are tuned into being your true authentic self, this isn't something that you need to force, and it isn't something that you have to push when you are doing your narration. It'll come out, and it'll come out naturally, and you will get that emotion across. And the listener who is enjoying your audiobook will be able to tap into that. They will feel it. They will feel your emotion. You don't have to sound like somebody else. You don't have to try to be like you're some radio DJ. No, you be your true authentic self. And really be tapped into who you're talking to, and be very specific, because when you are talking to a specific person, especially somebody that you're comfortable with, that's just going to make you sound even more conversational. And that's a great thing, because that brings out, again, your authenticity, and you're telling your story in your own voice. That's a great thing. So again, I'd love to talk with you. If you are interested in turning your book into an audiobook, let's have a conversation. That's where it all starts. It's super simple. You can go to robertlanecoaching.com, my website. There's plenty of buttons there that says book a call. Book your call. I'd love to talk with you. That's my calendar. It's my personal calendar. And would love to talk with you. Let's get that audiobook done. And let's do it in your own voice, because nobody can tell your story better than you. And you do have a great story. Always being tapped into that core reason of why you wrote your book, and know that for generations to come, because you have now created a legacy, that people will be able to hear you tell your story in your own voice. And they'll really be able to just get so engaged into what you're saying, because you are telling your story, and they will tap into your energy and your emotion. And that listener, and this is a great thing, because what is happening is that listener now feels like they have a direct connection to you as the author. And always remember that you as an author brand is everything that encompasses who you are. Everything. The way you were brought up, your belief systems, your habits, your personality, your sense of humor, all that is what makes you you. And love your uniqueness. And of course, love your voice. You should narrate your own audiobook because you do have a great voice. You just have to just love it and believe in yourself and have confidence in it, because you do have a great voice. All right. All right, my friends, we're going to wrap things up here on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I thank you so much. If there's ever a topic that you want me to talk about regarding the audiobook world, you're always welcome to reach out to me. Again, you can go to robertlanecoaching.com and shoot me a message. You can find me on Instagram at Robert Lane Coaching. I'm at Robert A. Lane on LinkedIn. Robert Lane Coaching on Facebook. So it's all out there. And I would really love to have a conversation with you and work with you and help you narrate your own book. Because again, you have a great story to tell. You've published a great book, and you just need to be the one to narrate it. It's that simple. And my final assignment to you is this. When you're out and about in the world, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment. Because that small gesture of kindness can make the world a difference in somebody's life. All right? Be a life changer. I'm Robert A. Lane. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. We'll be talking to you next week as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great week. Be good humans. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.